Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, dude. I'm good. What's going down?
Thanks for willing to do this.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Thanks for asking. I was very flattered.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I never I didn't expect Mika to take off so well so quickly. It's very interesting.
Oh, that's what usually always happens with Genshin.
Hmm. Yeah, true that. Good point.
So I could just jump around a little bit before getting to that
Yeah,
topic.
yeah, for sure, dude.
So, in terms of dubbing,
Mm.
was it your first experience the Mazinger Z movie?
Yeah, that was the first big thing that I did. I did that with a studio out here in New York. And at the time, I hadn't really gotten many audition opportunities, even for like any kind of anime and stuff. That was actually through a referral from a fellow actor who put my name into the hat as somebody to start receiving auditions. So this was my first kind of couple of anime auditions to come in, and being a commercial actor, it was really cool. It was very intriguing. Because I've never done anything like that. Commercial, it was like I could do that with my eyes closed. But dubbing, it was very interesting going to the audition because they had me kind of, this was way pre pandemic, obviously. But I was in the studio and they had me for the audition live dub
Oh,
basically. And I had never done it before.
yeah.
So I went in and, the understanding was kind of like, oh, you've done this before, right? And I was like, I didn't want to say yes. I didn't want to say no, hoping that that would ruin my chances. So through the auditions that I did is kind of how I learned how to dub. So it was all trial by fire. And then they brought me in for Mazinger Z, which actually was really cool. It was nice to kind of get my feet wet. Besides Fukurokoji that I played there, I did a couple of other like random characters, like a serviceman over here, a random like Navy guy over there. So yeah, it was a lot of random characters. But it was really cool just to get the experience of what it was like to dub. And actually, that studio, NYAV Post, they I did that anime. That was my first anime, and they also booked me for my first video game too, which is Earth Defense Force. So yeah, so that was pretty cool. So yeah, they kind of they not to be lewd, but they popped my cherry on both. So that was pretty cool.
Have you gotten to work with Mike Nicholas directly?
Yeah. Actually, at first, it didn't happen for a while, because I worked with a couple of different directors for Mazinger. I think it was with Mike Schneider. I think Mike Schneider was the one that I worked with for Mazinger Z and Earth Defense Force, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think I worked with him on both. And then Michael, I worked with him doing Fena. Fena is when I worked with Michael for the first time. Yeah. So that was really cool. And interestingly enough, we went to the same high school. Not the same year, but we went to the same high school. So that was actually really cool. It was like,
Oh,
oh, you went there too. It's cool.
yeah.
So it was nice. Uh,
Was Yukimaru like your first major anime role then?
yeah, that was my first big character. That's why I got him.
Oh,
I can't,
nice.
yeah, I think you can see him right there.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so I got him. But yeah, he was my first big anime role, which was cool because when you're doing auditions, I always tell voice actors, try not to fall in love with the characters you're auditioning for because you kind of set yourself up for disappointment if you don't get cast, and you don't want to do that to yourself. You know what I mean? Because you never know who's gonna get cast. Um, so if you end up really falling for a character and that's, you know, somebody you're dying to play and then you don't get it, I mean, it's not great for your own mental health when doing auditions. So but he was a character that when I read, because I actually read for him, Shitan and Makaba. So I did read for most of the male characters. He was the one that I was like, oh man, this guy's so cool. I would love to book this guy. And I was like, no, I can't be like that. I have to stop that because it might happen, it might not. So cut it out. But he was definitely the character that I really enjoyed auditioning for. But I did it, and then I you set and you forget. So I sent it in. I forgot about it. Went about my ways. Kept doing other projects. And then when I got the casting notice that I got the character, I was like, what is this? I don't even know what this is. It had been so long that I was like, I don't even remember what this is for. So I had to go back to my emails. And when I saw it, I was like, wait a second. The name sounds familiar. And when I listened back to my audition, I was like, oh, yeah, that's exactly who I wanted to play. I get to be a cool pirate ninja leader. This is the best. So, yeah, that was actually really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think you probably have more affinity with him over Oda?
Oh man, that's a great question. I don't know. I think so. I feel like I had a better idea of Yukimaru, while Oda, I kind of felt like I was playing him like my more cooler side. Truth be told, I kind of played him the way I thought he looked, and it
Yeah.
actually fit his personality. Because I'm a big Gundam Wing fan. So to me, he looks identical to Duo Maxwell.
Yeah.
They have the same hairstyle. I mean, like, top to bottom, they look almost exactly the same. So I played him with that same kind of cool, laid back, kind of snarky-ish, kind of like whatever, dude, kind of attitude, because that's how Duo was. He was super chill. He was the most relaxed of the group. So that's actually how I ended up kind of playing him. While Yukimaru, I took him a lot more seriously, and the character kind of demands it, because while he's in funny situations every now and again in the anime, he himself is not funny. He's not trying to be funny.
Yeah.
It's just the things that make him frustrated are things that people should not be frustrated about. Like that's just what it is. The handful of times that it happens, but he's just. The guy's a straight shooter. He's absolutely, fiercely disciplined, incredibly loyal to his cause and what he believes in, and obviously to Fena. And I really had to kind of take that to heart in how I played him, because there was no room for humor.
Mhm.
He was 100% absolute. Every word that came out of his mouth was 100% life or death. Every time. It didn't matter what it was. And that's kind of how I had to play him. And I enjoyed it. It's funny because people always ask me, did you have fun playing him? And I was like, no, because it wasn't fun. He wasn't there to have fun.
Yeah.
It was an incredible experience, but there was nothing fun about it. He was incredible. Every situation he was put in was like tough. It was a tough situation. And even the moments of levity, which was when he lost, I think it was episode 3, when he lost the game to be able to walk out in Barbarol, and he had to stay on the ship again, apparently, because he loses every time. Even that was like super serious. He couldn't understand. He couldn't figure it out. Why is he stuck on this boat again? He did everything he could. So yeah, it was like being him wasn't fun, but being him was an extreme test of my own metal. How do you take this seemingly one-note character and give him layers for the
Mhm.
audience vocally? So it was as an actor, it was awesome to play him, because he could easily be boring
Mhm.
if not played correctly.
It's kind of related to that. What do you think the darkest headspace you've had to go for voiceover in general so far is?
The darkest. Ooh, that's one thing I will say. I've been lucky in the sense that I haven't had to play any scary, or heavy roles. I would say he was probably the most serious role that I've had to play. I've been able to have fun with most every other character. I mean, even with Pokemon, even with that random henchman, he was like serious, but it's Pokemon. Pokemon's an extremely light anime. Same thing with Yu-Gi-Oh, you know what I mean? The characters might have serious moments, but it's all in fun. That's just the air of it. But yeah, this was probably the most serious role that I've had to do vocally across anything that I've done, because he had stakes. And I think
Mhm.
that was really the thing. His stakes were high at all times, especially towards those last two episodes. The last 2 episodes were um, incredibly difficult, because I had to really go to a very heavily emotional place, um, where he really genuinely felt that he was going to lose the person that he had been searching for, and now he has her, and her purpose has been found, and her purpose is to essentially forget everything that they've done, and that, like, that's crushing to him. So to be able to have to go there was tough. And it was interesting too, because when we recorded it, we all recorded obviously at home. This was during the pandemic, so I'm in my 4x4 box, and mind you, at the time Brittany hadn't recorded yet, so I was recording to nothing. You know what I mean? So I recorded my parts, and then I sent her a message afterwards, and I told her, I was like, listen, I know you're up next to record these 2 episodes. I'm sorry, because I poured myself into these. You're not going to make it out alive. So she was just like, oh no. She did her session. She came out and she was like, you jerk. You're so good. That was so amazing. I was crying the whole time. So, it goes to show you that, even if you're not there, if you have, the talent and technique, you really can bring those emotions there if you let yourself go there. You don't always need someone to play off of, but when you hear the final product, we didn't hear it until we saw the show. So we were watching it kind of brand new with everybody. We knew our side of things, but we never knew how the exchanges sounded, which was scary, because you're like, is it going to sound like we're talking to each other? Because none of us ever did. And then you hear it, and it's like, oh man, that came out so good. Like, you would never know we weren't in the same studio. And, that's just a testament to the directing, the engineering, and then, more obviously the actors and their own talent. So yeah, we got really lucky. We had a lot of amazing talent on that show, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is interesting, just based on...
Yukimaru, though. Yukimaru, for sure, to answer your question.
Well, it is interesting considering other characters you played so far that that you would play Mika in Genshin, since you wouldn't expect that it's you.
No, and let me tell you, when I got the audition, it was funny because I had an inkling that I thought it was a Genshin character. The character, because we did get to see the character model, so that we knew kind of the idea of what they look like. So to kind of help you get into the character, and then it was very detailed on his backstory. So I saw it, I was like, this looks like it might be a Genshin, but it was under a project name, so I didn't know. I was like, all right, whatever. Okay, this kid is like, oh man, this kid's 15. Woo, all right, this kid is young. All right, so I gotta pitch way up, something that I don't do too often. But I have done it. I do a lot of audio descriptions, and I've done audio descriptions for Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. And I've done the last 5 seasons of Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. And so when I do Daniel Tiger, that's usually at least the last, the first like 3 or 4 seasons I worked on, I was always in a very high pitch, because you're doing audio description for children. So when I did Mika, they had the instruction that he was, very shy, he's nervous. It's not that he's nervous about himself. It's just groups of people make him wary, especially people that he doesn't know. So I was like, okay, so, I'm going to just do the best I can. In my head, I was like, I'm not booking this. There's just no way. I was like, it's not going to happen. So I was like, but I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to shoot my shot, and then we'll see what happens. And then I got a call back. So I was like, oh, okay. Definitely wasn't expecting that, but all right. A call back, is good, because you were good enough to rise to the top. But obviously there's more than one person probably in the running, who knows? So I did the callback. I sent it off, and then I just waited. And I think it was probably maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks later. And then I got the booking, and then it said Genshin Impact. And I was like, wait, Genshin Impact? Wait, no way. And I was like, this can't be that kid character that I did. And sure enough, it was for Mika. I was like, no way. That is so wild. I was like, oh man, I'm going to do this. Nobody's going to believe that it's me. There's just no way. I've done nothing in that voice before. So yeah, it was very interesting. I did not at all think that I was going to do it, but I had so much fun reading that letter, because it's a simple part, but I had so much fun. We all had fun during that whole session, because we did it in like in chunks. Basically, the way that the game has it laid out, those are the chunks that I recorded it in. And every chunk that we did it, I would finish reading, and then we would all just like together we'd all be like, oh, he's just so adorable. All right, next line. And then we would do it again. Like we fell in love with what I was creating with Chris's direction. It was awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did you have a default line to get into his headspace or anything that you did like that?
Actually, no. Funny enough, I mean, I'll probably end up creating one if we happen to see him come back. That would be something that I would do then. But usually, like if I do something the first time out, um, I typically just kind of read whatever the first line is, maybe like a handful of times just to get really his pitch. And then I have to after I get his pitch, then I work on his cadence, because since he does have a very specific cadence, especially since he's speaking in public, it's going to be different than when he's like speaking to somebody face to face, which you kind of hear in the game. The way he speaks when he's reading the letter, he tends to be a little unsure, kind of stumbles a little bit. And it's not that he's having trouble reading, it's just that he's kind of swallowing in between words and taking breaths because he's running out of breath. He just doesn't know how to operate in front of people. But when the player character ends up talking to him, he's a little bit more clear. Still surprised that somebody's talking to him, especially the player character, which makes him nervous already. Like, you're amazing. Why are you talking to me? Please go away. Okay, put me in a box. I don't want to see you anymore. You know what I mean? So yeah, there is a difference there. So if we happen to see Mika again, I mean, I hope so. That would probably be something that I create later down the line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Were you playing the game at all prior?
No, I had heard about it. Obviously, it's kind of hard not to hear about Genshin Impact, and I watched probably more videos than I played myself, just because I'm an avid gamer myself, so I'm usually cycling through single player adventures fairly quickly. So I like games that I could like go in, bang out 15 hours, wrap it, and move on to the next one. So I like quick, heavy story driven adventures. So I would watch a lot of people playing Genshin Impact. Every now and again I'll jump into a Twitch stream just to get an idea, because I feel like that's one of those things where not that I was planning on being in Genshin Impact, but it's always good to kind of stay up to date on what is hot, because you never know if an audition might creep its way in, especially with a game like Genshin Impact that was introducing so many characters, NPCs. I mean, there's NPCs all over the place in that game. It's like, man, if an audition like that happens to come my way, I should be at least familiar with the game to some degree. I don't need to be a master gamer, but I should know what the game is about at least, and kind of understand its ecosystem and how the characters sound and how they look and how they act. And it's a heavy anime style game.
Mm-hmm.
When they're cutesy, they're super cutesy. You know what I mean? I mean, Paimon is probably the best example of that. Like, you can't get cuter than Paimon, or Kali. Kali. Yeah. I mean, my homegirl, she did such a great job doing that part. And I was just like, dude, you sound so darn cute. As Kali, I can't deal. So yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool just to kind of get an idea. So when the audition came in, I guess I was, kind of prepared, whether it was Genshin or not, because again, I didn't know at the time. But I figured this is kind of like how it would sound. This is how it would sound, at least in my voice. And I guess we'll see what happens. And I guess they liked it.
What are your thoughts on at least what we know so far about his interactions with other characters like Jean and Kaya? And
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I think it's really cool. I'm intrigued to see, if they develop him more, especially with his relationships with with Kaya, and also Varka, because obviously he has a connection. There's a heavy connection there. Varka put him on the front lines of things, so it'd be cool to see if we ever touch back on that again. I know that's kind of like the big thing. Will Varka come back? You know what I mean? Is he finally gonna come back? Do we finally get to see him? Like, who this guy is? So it would be cool, like, if he happens to make a return, if Mika happens to come, be around with him and see how he engages with all these characters that he does know, as opposed to seeing him react to characters that he doesn't interact with normally. Because we already know if he's not familiar with who they are, or if in his head he holds them on a bit of a pedestal, he obviously already gets nervous and already starts thinking, why are you even talking to me? It's like, this is like, I'm not worthy, so it'd be interesting to see if he's more confident, when he's speaking to them. Is he as shy, or is he more sure of himself? Because obviously he knows he's very good at what he does, which is why Varka put him in the position that he was in. And considering how young he is, I think that's very interesting. Is his timidness a result of the fact that he's so focused and so good at his at being a surveyor? Is that what it is? Like, is that where all his mental capacity is in his work, and that's where he truly shines? That then when it comes to social interactions, he's like, well, this doesn't involve work, so I don't know what to do. So I'm intrigued to see, like, if that's something that we end up seeing maybe later on. I mean, it'd be cool. I'd love to come back. I mean, I thought it was a really great welcome for his character. And I mean, seeing how everybody reacted to him so quickly, it's either like they extremely love him, and I think the thing that I see the most is must protect, must protect Mika. There's that, and then, man, Mika is ugly. I hate him. It's like, whoa, we got some crazy, like, we got literally both sides of the spectrum, and it's really interesting to see, just how people react to it. But I know that a lot of it, of the hate, at least, is more like character model stuff, and I'm kind of like, all right. I mean, nobody's saying that they hate the way he sounds, at least not that I've seen. So I'm like, so that's cool. You know what I mean? I'm okay with that. But I get it. There's going to be critiques. No game is perfect. Every game has something for the trolls to latch onto and absolutely hate. And I'm like, it is what it is. What are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Nobody escapes unscathed. So it's kind of nice to get to see both sides of it.
Well, the biggest thing, I'm sure you've seen it too, is that people saying about how his hair looks like a chocobo from Final Fantasy.
Chocobo.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's funny because I never thought that until that started to become a thing, and I was like, but it's cute though. It still looks cute. I like it. I'm like, he looks different. I enjoy it. It's kind of like the kid with the cowlick. He just can't help it. He's too cute. He's not thinking about his hair. What is he gonna do? So I like it. I personally really enjoy it.
Which aspects of him could you relate the most to?
I would say. That's actually a really good question. I mean, I never was a shy kid per se, but I will say I understand it in the sense that, he's not shy because he's scared as much as it is that he's uncomfortable. It's just, which I think anybody can understand. I think anybody can relate to. If you're in an uncomfortable situation, you're going to feel weird. And the thing is, he's also very young. He's also a young boy in a very important position, delivering a very important message. During the beginning of this huge festival, with a lot of very important story-driven information. Obviously, that he doesn't see it that way, but like it's a lot of important information. So he knows he has a job to do, but he's uncomfortable because he's not in his zone, and he's seeing all these knights there, these older important men that do what they do, and I can understand being in a position where you're uncomfortable speaking to people where you may think that you aren't a voice of authority. I think a lot of people can relate to that. But he has to do it. This is his job. This is why he was selected, and this is why he was tasked to do it. So while I can't say that I am that, I can absolutely say I can totally relate to, you know, being in that kind of position of authority in apprehensively. You
Mm.
know, I'm sure it's not, it wouldn't have been his first choice, you know, thing to do, you know, travel back to Mondstadt and let everybody know what's going on. I'm sure that's not what he wanted to do, but he knows he has to do it. He has a job, he has to do it, and he will fulfill it. So I do relate to that for sure, is that sometimes you have to be uh, the voice of authority, even when it's uncomfortable.
Mm.
Yeah.
It is especially intriguing considering how shy he is, like what his fighting style and weapon will be.
Right. I mean, I've seen the rumors and such of, like, you know, what's going to be. I mean, I hope the rumors are true, you know, and I hope they like me enough and I come back. That'd be nice. But if the rumors are true, I mean, hey, I mean, it would be pretty cool. I mean, I know that they've teased a lot about, you know, him being like ridiculously physically strong or something. I was like, okay, hopefully, man, from your mouth to MiHoYo's ears, you know, like keep telling them, keep telling
Yeah,
them to bring them back, because I would love to see that.
that was another question that a few people were asking is, what do you hope to see for him?
Oh, well, I mean, I would love to see him back, even if it's in an NPC capacity. But if he does become a player character, oh man, I would love to see him. I would love to see him in his element, because I know he's not shy by nature. He's shy by this because of the situation. So I would like to see what he's like when he's confident in something. I would love to see what that looks like for Mika. You know, and what that is. You
Mm.
know, what is it that's going to get him to that point where he's like, "No, guys, you know, like, I'm going to do this." It's like I would love to see what gets him there. You know, what inspires him to, put down his defenses and really just kind of like own up to the moment. So I would love to see that. That would actually be cool. Again, you know, as a voice actor, it's going to be story driven stuff. You know what I mean? You know, action wise, you know, for me, that's really neither here nor there, because it's going to be me grunting and yelling and hi-ying, you know. So that doesn't play as much as like how he's going to interact as an actual character. So I would definitely love to see to see if he changes, you know, how he changes, what is it that inspires that change. Um, so if that happens, that's what I would be most looking forward to, is to see what is it that gets him to that place of confidence as Mika, you know,
Mm.
because it's not going to be like, all right, guys, let's go get it. You know, that's not what it's not going to be like that. It's going to be still in his little like mousy voice. I think that's really cute.
Yeah.
Especially if he like tells several people like, all right, guys, let's go. You know, it's like, all right, kid. Like, whatever you say. You
Yeah.
know, so I think it'd be really cool to see that.
I know you mentioned Christina, but are you friends with any other of the cast members?
Yeah, well, Brittany, obviously she's the voice official, so she and I were actually really cool. Yeah, Christina and I, she's been incredibly awesome. But other than them, who else? Oh, Anjali, she was actually really awesome. She and I, she was also in Fena. So we're all pretty close. Trying to think. I know June Yoon. I know he's done a couple of NPCs. He and I are actually really cool. That game is so big. There's so many actors in it. It's
Right.
kind of like, I'm sure I know more than like I'm remembering. But those are the ones that like jump to mind. I feel like for all the actors that have done Genshin, like if you did a 6 degrees of separation, we're all like a degree away from each other, like in
Yeah.
some way. Like we all kind of run in the same circles. Um, so yeah, but I mean, they're the ones that jump out the most to me. I'm sure I'm not aware of like a handful probably that probably didn't. I'm like, oh yeah, you were in it too. Okay, but yeah, those are the ones they're the ones that come to mind right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, but yeah, we're all cool. I mean, we've all been, you know, friendly and or friends. Um, for a bit now. Like we've all spoken for a while. Like me and Christina, we probably speak weekly.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, me and her were probably the ones that I would say I speak with the most. But yeah, everybody else, like, you know, we run in the same Twitter circle, so we'll like comment here, say what's up there, drop a comment. But no, Christina and I actually we stay in pretty close contact pretty regularly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I do think it's cool that since with Genshin being non-union, that it gives more people opportunity to be part of it.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Especially because of how big the game is, the fact that there are so many actors involved, and also considering how many actors have done double or triple duty
Yeah,
with some characters, which which I think is even more amazing is that you can have one actor voice four characters, and there's still more characters that need voices, and they can still bring new talent. And I think that's incredible because there's so much great talent out there that just never got the luck of the draw to be, in the union. And it truly is a luck of the draw. Being in the union isn't something that's easy to achieve. You have to be part of a project that is unionized, and that's kind of how you get your foot in the door. Becoming SAG eligible is a lot trickier than people consider. If you happen to do really well in a specific sector of voice acting where that's more prominent, that's really how you get lucky. I became SAG eligible, I mean, like 4 months into being a professional voice actor because I did commercial.
yeah.
That's more likely. It's going to happen. You're going to potentially come across a union job a lot quicker doing commercial. And that's exactly what happened. I ended up booking a McDonald's spot, and then I became their voice for like a year, just doing Spanish commercials for their Latin American,
Mm.
consumers. And that was it. Imagine, just starting out with your agent, you do a commercial, and all of a sudden 4 months later, they're like, all right, you got to join the union. It's like, whoa, was not expecting it to happen that fast. And yet you have some actors, because of the sectors they work in, that could be working for 9 years and never get the SAG eligibility. So it just depends, um so it's nice for the non-union folks to be able to lend their voice to such a prominent and popular game. Because it's huge. Anybody that tells me there's a bigger game than this at the moment that hasn't existed for at least the last 10 years, you'd be lying. Like, yeah, World of Warcraft, sure, it's been around forever. Of course that game's gonna be bigger. But this game just came out, literally. Like, it just came out not that long ago. It's very young in its cycle, and it's blown up. So like, and for any non-union actor that hasn't done maybe too much, this is such a great foot in the door
Mhm.
to be able to get more work, or possibly even con appearances, which is really cool. I mean, that's something I didn't do until recently, and I've been doing this 9 years.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And who knows? Maybe this might, hopefully, if Mika becomes a more popular character, maybe I'll see more of that. I mean, who knows? It even opens up opportunities for me, somebody who's been doing voice acting for so long. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think it's really awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, a lot of great non-union talent out there. They shouldn't be looked at differently just because of their union status.
Are you also pretty content in New York, or do you see yourself going to LA ever?
It's funny. I get that question a lot, and it's funny. It's always the LA actors that are asking me like, "All right, so when are you coming?" I'm like, I don't know," because the thing is, there's pros and cons to everything. You know what I mean? The obvious pro is being more exposed to animation work
Mhm.
more steadily, because obviously and understandably, for animation work, they want people that are local. Totally get it. And that's I think that even now, being a predominantly remote working actor, from a business perspective and from a directing perspective, I get that. That makes sense. Like, I'm totally okay with it. Would I like to be in the running at least? Yeah, sure. But if you have a local actor that can really do the job and do it well, I don't see why you wouldn't want to bring them in. You see the actor, you connect with them more. Face to face is always better than virtual. I very much believe that. In terms of my abilities, though, just personally, I know that I can deliver what I can in person virtually as well. I've become incredibly adept at taking great direction. So I know I can be directed to what they need. So with that being said, um, as a very self-aware voice actor, while I would love to go to LA and be exposed to more potential film and or animation and video game opportunities, I know that's not where I'm strongest at. I know it's in my wheelhouse. It's not that I can't do it. I just know that that's not my strongest skill. I'm still a little Mika in that respect, where it's kind of like, all right, we need you to do this character. Okay, I'm still nervous about doing a character voice. Not because of skill. It's just I haven't done it as much. So I'm still unsure. I'm not as confident as I probably should be. I'm getting better now, with that, but commercial is really where that's really my bread and butter, and New York is the place for that. That's really where you get the most commercial work, and it just makes more sense for me in that regard. Adding the layers of I own a house in New York, so that I would have to sell that to then go buy one somewhere else. That's a whole thing. I have 3 kids. All my kids go to school here. To have to uproot them and get them to another school and, on the other side, of the United States, that for my oldest, I feel like that would be jarring. I mean, she's about to be 17. Now it would not be the time for me to do something like that, at least within the next couple of years, unless she goes to college out of state. For my young ones, it probably won't be as detrimental. The baby, she doesn't even go to school yet. She hangs with me pretty much all day in between sessions. She's actually hanging out right now while I'm in my booth. She's in my office watching Tots, I think. She's watching some. I'm sure I know some actors in that show, but so she's hanging out watching cartoons. And then my 6-year-old, she's in school, so it probably won't be as detrimental to them. But while I see the benefits for it, I don't think they outweigh the potential cons of it and the headaches of it. If I just had an apartment and I was renting and it was like just me and my wife, I would have been gone. I would have left a long time ago because, it's easy. But moving 5 lives to the other side of the country, unless there was a very obvious, like, I'm the voice of Mickey or something, like it got to be something big, like if it's something big like that, then I would absolutely humor the idea more. But I would have to book something like literally like career changing for me to humor potentially leaving. I know I just disappointed probably a lot of LA actors who want to see me there, but sorry guys, I'm a New York boy. I was born and raised, and I'm probably not leaving. So yeah, there you go. Disney, book me as Mickey. I'll consider it.
So one thing I always do with the Genshin interviews is I have it's one of Zhang Li's lines, and I have them do it in character if they're willing to do that.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
I'll post it in the chat.
Yeah, sure thing. Okay. Man, this wine tastes as good as I remember. But where are those who share the memories?
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's funny. I don't know if you saw, but like I just noticed that I do it when I do that voice. I tend to do this with my hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. Sometimes I do things and I don't realize them until I'm actually doing the voice. So there you go. That brings me to Mika. Keeping my hands kind of like this.
Yeah.
That brings me to the voice. Yeah. For some people that actually is extremely helpful, is finding a physical thing to get them to a specific voice. So there you go. There's an example of Mika's totally unintentionally, not even realizing that's the Mika voice. That's the little kid, nervous, shy voice. But yeah, I mean, I've created that for a lot of my go-to voices, is either some kind of hand gesture or every now and again there's one that is a word. Like Yukimaru, it was a word, and it was saying Fena's name. So saying Fena's name gets me into Yukimaru's voice, because I said her name so many times in that, that now it's like if I say her name, I can get back into Yukimaru. And then like for commercial work, same thing. You know, I have specific voices for specific things. So either my hands do something, or I fake hold something, or I like, you know, do this a lot and just kind of shrug, you know, if I'm trying to do like a whatever kind of vibe. So yeah, that's one of the tricks of the trade, at least for me. I know that doesn't work for every actor. Because another thing actors really like to do is they love to record standing up. I never stand. I
Okay.
actually sit for everything, even like high intensity stuff. I'm sitting down. I don't know why. It's just maybe it's because of the nature of my booth and how I have it set up. Like I could stand, I could move this up if I wanted to, but I don't know. I just got used to just sitting, and like I feel like, you know, sometimes people, you know, actors find a position of power being able to stand and kind of being able to kind of do something like this. Well, for me, my position of power is kind of like in a sitting, like kind of, you know, crouched down, like, you know, almost like I'm hunkering over the microphone, like I'm about to like, you know, wrestle it like a bear. That's like my position of power. And it also helps too, because the lower I keep my mic, the lower I could go in my you know, in kind of like my chamber. So if I'm, you know, if I'm talking up here, try to do a low voice from up here makes me sound like Keanu Reeves, really, you know, as opposed to like having a deeper voice way down here. And because I'm aiming down, I could get really low with it, you know? So like, it just depends on how you hunker your body. So I could get like a nice big burly character way down here. It's a lot easier to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Tricks of the trade.
is there anything else that's upcoming you're part of you can talk about?
Yeah, actually, in Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens, I've already been out as Professor Diggs. There is another character though that I play in Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens that hasn't been introduced yet, and he will be introduced in the next set of episodes that drop on Hulu. So keep an eye out for that one. Because when you hear him, you're going to be like, that's not Rob. That's another one that was kind of out of a very out of the norm voice for me. But I had a lot of fun voicing that character. So you'll hear him, and he's in it quite a bit.
Okay.
I can say he's part of the Heavy Cavalry Duel Club. So he's part of Asana's crew.
Okay.
Yeah, so you'll hear him. So that's probably the next big thing coming out at the moment. And besides that, a lot of political stuff. So if you happen to hear a lot of political things on YouTube or digitally, a lot of those I've been doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to say to the Mika server and subreddit?
Yeah, totally. Wow. I'm amazed that there is a subreddit for Mika. I think that's kind of awesome. Thank you guys. That's incredibly flattering, and just so awesome to see that, even though he has such a small footprint in the game, he's received so much love already. And the idea that I had for Mika, or the feeling that I wanted to stir in people in voicing Mika, is the one that you guys are showing, which is the, you know, I want to protect him. You know, he's so sweet. He's so adorable. He's so endearing, that you can't help but fall in love with him. And that's exactly what I wanted to bring to the character. And the fact that a server was created for him just off of the little bit of the interaction that he had. I mean, I think it shows that I did my job really well. So that's incredibly comforting to know that, you know, that's a testament to my work. So the existence of the subreddit just says like, you did it right. What I wanted to do, you guys got. And I think that's awesome. So thank you guys.
Well, my final question then is always asking, what do you want your legacy to be?
Ooh, I would like my legacy to be a voice actor who never felt that, or never became a voice actor that became too good for everyone. I like to be remembered for my, hopefully my humble way of being as an actor, regardless of my success. And that I was always as helpful as I could be for the new wave of voice actors, overall. So, yeah.
Well, thanks. I'm glad that we got to do this.
Yeah, me too, Chris. Man, thanks so much for having me. Again, very flattered for the request. Happy to oblige and talk shop with you for a bit, man. It was cool. It was awesome.
Thanks. Yeah. Have a good rest of your day then.
Awesome. You too, man. Take it easy, brother.
Bye.
Later.